You're listening to Double Time, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Steven Scott and Shaun Priest.
Oh, hello, Shaun Priest. How are you today?
I am gorgeous, thank you, Steven Scott. How are you?
I'm a bit
I don't know why I'm
flush.
talking like a robot.
I don't know. It's like whenever we start the show, it's like, hello. It's like I'm about to do a marching song, a band marching song.
You know what? I'm not going to say hello to you. I'm going to say hello, listeners. And
I was
viewers.
thinking that as well. I'm always saying hello to you, but I never say hello to you.
I know. Welcome them in. Oh, we love you. How are you doing?
Yeah. Are you good? Are you okay? You feeling all right?
Stop it.
What?
I've got to say it. Happy Double Thursday.
Oh, here we
Night
go again.
managers out there, enjoy it. And season's nearly over, so, store up those diamonds and battle away. Good luck to you.
So when can
Thank
I
you.
join in this game? When can I jump in?
Well, anytime you like. It is free. So jump in anytime you like. But the season is coming to an end. It will start again. That just means that all the things that we've acquired over the past, how many days it's been, weeks, months, we lose and everyone starts from zero again. So everyone's on an equal playing field. So, yeah, join in about 20 days and, it's going to be great fun.
Oh, I might give it a go. I'll either hate it or I'll become totally addicted to it.
Yes, I know. That's the trouble. It's very good.
You know, it's funny. I really want to enjoy some books. I've been going through. My wife is an avid listener of audiobooks. Right, she loves her audiobooks.
Stop. Let me just guess here, because my partner is exactly the same. Is it every serial killer or horror or gross book in the world?
Not gross, but yes, serial killers.
Yeah, which are gross.
Prison. Yes. She is obsessed with prison.
Oh.
And she's the most shy. I mean, if someone says boo to her on the street, if I cough in the house, she leaps out of her skin. But she's happy to listen to books about horrible people in prisons. It's beyond me.
What is it about? Oh, no, I won't say that. Hello, ladies. It's all fine.
Yeah, don't scare people. It is Halloween, though, isn't it? This is Halloween.
It is Halloween. Yeah, it's not a big deal here in the UK. And Sarah was just saying right now, I love Halloween. I wish we made a bigger deal of it. I'm not with that. We don't really celebrate Halloween in the UK, do we?
No, I mean, it's for the kids, isn't it? It's for the kids.
Well, you say that. I haven't had kids knock on my door in years. It used to be kids come round and you give them a bit of candy. But that didn't happen. And the last estate that I used to live on, used to get like 18-year-olds knocking on your door that may have a garbage bag
a knife
on their shoulders. Yeah, trick or treat. So, okay, here's
and the
here's
knife
a fiver.
you were kind of questioning whether the knife was part of the costume or some kind of threatening implement to be used.
Yeah, it's not cute kids, all dressed up and all lovely as it is on the movies. It's a little bit scary, to be honest.
It's kind of nice. It's nice around here. I mean, the kids do go out. They tend to. What happens is about between 5 and 6 at night, they'll go out with the parents. They'll walk round. They'll knock the doors. But the deal is that you have to have a pumpkin outside your house. So if you have a pumpkin outside your house, then the parents know it's okay to knock the door. If you don't have a pumpkin outside your house, you can guess what's outside my house. A sign saying, please leave me alone. But that's up there all year round. They're used to that. Unless it's an Amazon delivery, in which case leave it around the back.
I like the idea of it. It is a lovely idea, right?
Yeah.
Kids get out, have fun, dress up, and it's a bit of a community thing. But
yeah.
again,
it is dying off a bit. I think it's different. I think it's different in the US and Canada. I think there's more of a push for it, and it's a fun holiday, but it's very much an American holiday. Let's be honest about it. It's just another thing the Americans have given us. Thank you, America. We appreciate that.
That sounded a little bit aggressive, Steven Scott. Again,
I was going to follow up by saying, well, thanks to we'll say thanks for that, and then we'll decide after next week whether we continue thanking them for anything.
Oh, okay. No politics. Thank you for KFC. I will say that.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know what? Yeah. 100%. That makes up for all of it, as far as I'm concerned. Listen, I nearly bought something. Can I say this? Play this in.
Steven bought this week.
Nearly.
Because it's kind of a nearly one this week, right?
Okay.
I've been considering this, but it's one of those. Now, you know me, I love to jump into a purchase. You know what I'm like? I'm quite an impulse buyer. I get an idea of something. I'll do a bit of research, but not very much. Usually what happens is I'll buy it, then read the reviews and go, goodness me, this is terrible. And then I've got to go through the process of sending it back, which means I keep it.
Yes.
But I was looking at this thing called Larq, Larq, and it's a water bottle, right? But it's a water bottle with a difference. The
With
difference
tech?
being it costs a fortune.
Okay.
But, I mean, water bottle, obviously nowadays, it's all about reusable. You have your water bottle, you take it with you. You can fill up, go to airports or train stations, you can fill up the water bottle as you go. But the thing for me is with some of these bottles, especially the metal ones, and even the plastic ones as well. I've got a plastic one here with me right now, which I got, which is just a basic, kind of plastic water bottle. This is a dumb water bottle. There's absolutely zero smartness in this other than the fact that there's water inside it.
Also known as a bottle.
Well,
Yes.
it's just a bottle, yeah. But this one has smarts inside. Now, mostly you'll hear about water tracking. That's a thing that a lot of these water bottles, the smarter ones have got in them. So you can buy ones now that have got tracking capabilities so that as you drink, it will register it with your app, and that app can connect to, say, Apple Health or your Google Health app or whatever you might be using, or even just the app itself, and it'll, keep an eye on your water intake.
Don't get me started on that. Okay.
Drinking water is good for you.
Yes.
You should drink water. Drink more of
And
it.
you need to track exactly how much you're drinking.
Well,
throughout the
you don't
day,
want to
do you?
drink too much. That's it's the weirdest thing about water, right? It can love you and then it can kill you.
Okay. This is the strangest episode. Let me just say.
It can, because too much of it could
no.
drown your kidneys. It could
Listen.
drown your body. You'll just become an ocean of
Listen
death.
to your body. Your body knows best, Stephen Scott.
Yeah, well, supposedly, right? But
All right,
we
okay,
all
look.
overindulge. So
Look, for people
anyway.
who are into their fitness, yes, tracking these
Come
stats
on,
are
it's
important.
not even
okay?
just fitness. I mean, look, I'm not into my fitness at all. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that. But what I will say is I do like to track my water intake. So that was something I was thinking about.
All right.
But this
don't.
bottle has another functionality to it, and that is it's self-cleaning.
Oh, okay. How does it get dirty?
Well, if you, as I have done in the past, especially with the metal ones, if you leave any stagnant water in there, even droplets, and you don't rinse it out, even if you do rinse it out, any water that's in there over a period of time can go stagnant, and you have to wash it out. And sometimes you might open the bottle and there's a bit of an eggy smell in there, which is not
Ugh.
very nice, and it must just be the whatever
The eggs.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, the eggs I've left inside. But you have to keep it clean. So obviously, you got to keep on top of that. And who's got the time for that, Shaun Priest?
Well, I would assume you drop those tablets that you use to clean your coffee machine and things in it.
Well, there's things you can do. Yeah, I mean, there's filtration options. I mean, we live in a country, thankfully, like Canada, I would say, is the same. Certainly Norway. I remember this being very similar. Where in Norway, in hotels, for example, they would tell you, do not buy bottled water. Drink from the tap, drink from the faucet, because the water is so
just as
good.
Yeah.
You don't need to. So that's one of the things. But keeping the bottle clean is part of it. And what it's got inside is a UV cleaner.
Oh,
Right, so it's
okay.
like blue light, I guess, right? Which it kind of just goes and cleans it. Exactly like that. And it's
including the sound.
that's right. At 60 seconds, you push the button, and that's it. So it's tracking your water intake. It's also cleaning the bottle as well. So once it's empty, you just press the button. 60 seconds, it's clean again, and away you go. Now, my question is, well, hang on. My question is this,
Okay, cool.
because I want to know if anybody has bought one of these. Because I want to know if this UV thing is a real thing. Is this UV cleaning thing real, or is this just a gimmick? Because it sounds like if you're cleaning something, you got to actually clean it, right? You can't just point a light at it.
Well, I mean, you could kill bacteria with. I mean, you do kill bacteria with heat.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming it's not heating up UV. Honestly, I don't know. That's an interesting question. And what happens if you press the button when you've got water in it? Does it boil? I mean,
No.
what's going on?
It doesn't heat. No, it doesn't heat. It just. I've seen this before with. You can get. There was a while anyway. You could get these little boxes that you could put your iPhone or your Android phone into, your smartphone. You could put
Yes.
it in there, and it would clean the phone for you. Now, I don't know how much it actually cleans. You have to give it a clean to obviously clean any fingerprints or smudge off. But I think it's any other bacteria it will clean off. And I'm putting it out there because I genuinely don't know, and I would love to hit buy on this thing, but it's like $150
For
for
what
the
size?
bottle. So starts at 500 ml. They have a 740 ml option. They've just brought out this new one. I think it's called the Pure 2, which is the new one, and
I want
this is
that
the one
one.
that's got all the smarts in it. And it does sound pretty good, but $150 for a bottle, even for me, that's quite steep. So I want to know it's got some use to it. So I'm basically doing my own customer reviews here
You say you're
on
doing
Double
your
Tap.
own. We're just asking our
No,
listeners.
no, that's what I'm saying. I'm asking here. I'm not going to go and research it. If you guys have used it, I'd much rather hear from you. So has anyone tried this stuff? Does it work? Do we know if it works?
And
So
how are you
I'm
spelling that
intrigued.
again?
Larq.
Larq, Larq. Very good. Okay. Well done for going to water anyway. It's the healthy option.
I do
Less
like
coffee.
drinking water. Well, I always have the same routine. I drink my coffee and then I have not either a bottle of water or a glass of water.
Oh, okay. Well done. Well, as long as you're keeping track of it, because that's vitally important.
I've got
for
no
some
idea. See,
reason.
look, there you go. I have no idea whether I had a
Exactly.
bottle or a glass, so I need help.
Nobody cares. It's like sleep tracking. Who cares? I mean, okay, very good.
Yeah, sleep tracking, I must admit, that's something. I haven't done this with the Apple Watch. Did I tell you that I got the Series 10? Did I tell you I got the Series 10 Apple Watch?
I don't think you did, but okay.
So I've got it, and we're going to do a review of it. I am going to do a proper review. There's been so much going on, we haven't had time to dig in. But I really do want to talk about this watch because it's actually really nice. The one thing that gets me first off is the weight, because I had the Ultra 2. I traded it in. I had the Ultra 2.
Did you?
I did, and do you know why? Because for me, the weight on my wrist with the Essential Tremor was just awful. I mean, I actually didn't realize it was causing me pain. I would put it on during the day. I'd start noticing the Essential Tremor get worse. My wrist gets sore. I'd take the watch off and suddenly everything started to come back again. I thought, all right, okay, hang on. I think this might be to do with the weight of the watch.
Wow. Okay, let me just ask a question then. The Ultra 2, was that much heavier than the standard, let's say, Series 9 downwards, 8,
Yeah,
7, whatever?
yeah, it is. Yeah, because
So
it's much
it's-
bigger as well. Much bigger watch in comparison.
Wow.
But the difference with the Series 10, I mean, it is so light. Now, you might remember our lovely listener, Lena, who got in touch with me ages ago recommending wrist straps for the watch, because I was talking about the fact that when I'm walking along, if I'm sweating, even the sports
Yes.
bands, they just end up sliding down your wrist, so the watch
Yes.
ends up at your before your hand.
Fingertips.
Yeah, not a medical man, but.
It moves around, yes.
Exactly. So you're walking around the place and suddenly the watch is falling off you. So she recommended very kindly this like elastic strap, and I got like a bunch of them. So I have them in various colors, and one of them was black, which is kind of nice. Thank you to the lovely Be My Eyes person who helped me work that one out. And we got the black one, and I was able to connect it up to the Series 10. So that watch is as light as anything. I mean, it's light anyway because it's thinner. But it's really light to wear. You actually would forget you're wearing it, which is the first time I've ever noticed that with an Apple Watch, or not noticed it.
It's so funny. Like I mentioned about tracking water, tracking your sleep, and being dismissive of it. And I'm kind of the same when they talk about, this is, I don't know, 2 grams lighter than the previous one or whatever it may be. And you say, who cares? But I mean, you're a perfect example why this stuff does matter, because I wouldn't even think about that. When I put my Apple Watch on, I just tend to forget it's even there. But obviously in your case, with your tremor and the problems you're having with that, it makes a huge difference.
It does. Anything that basically weakens the hand, right? So any weight will just weaken the hand. And you've got to be careful as well with circulation issues as well with that, because if you're sitting, especially as I do with the computer all the time, your wrists are on the table. You can potentially be cutting off supply, and it seems to happen more so in this hand than it's ever done before, and certainly doesn't do it in the right hand, which is, I guess, related to the tremor. But the other thing I want to mention as well about the watch, I mean, aside the fact the speaker is gorgeous in it, it's really clear. So for voiceover, really nice. Yes, I know we're doing the review now, but I just jumped into it.
Just first impressions, but I mean. The big thing about the Series 10 for me, what I took away from the event was that it was more about the design, the flatter, smaller design of it, and as you mentioned, lighter as well. I was really interested to see if that was noticeable, because as I said, sometimes they mention it, you think, I'm not even going to notice that. But compared to the other watches, which I still think are a great design, by the way, when you compare them to other smartwatches out there.
Yeah.
They're not like they stick out like an old, 80s calculator watch or anything. So did you notice the difference from that aspect? As it feels a lot smaller, not the weight, but it feels nicer to wear.
Well, the watch itself is probably the same size as the previous, if not slightly bigger, because it is a slightly bigger screen. Although it's
flatter?
Definitely flatter, so much thinner, much thinner, and noticeably so. Because my wife's got the Series 9, and comparing the two, in terms of thickness, yeah, you can really tell the difference. You can really, and weight as well. Obviously, it does depend on the band you're wearing as well, but
does that make a difference? You say comparing it, and obviously comparing it side by side, you can notice the difference. But when you're wearing it yourself, is it noticeably better? Because maybe your cuff doesn't catch on it quite as often, and when you dig your hand into your pocket, it doesn't catch on your pocket, stuff like that.
Yeah, I must admit I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's true. That probably is the case because it is thinner, so it's not protruding as much in the way it would have before. But
cool.
I want to mention some other things about it because I mean the speaker was another thing that they talked about, and I think for us that's maybe a bigger story in that you can, for example, listen to media now, playback directly on the device, and it's something I kind of wasn't sure if I would want.
You poo-pooed it.
I did
Steven Scott.
poo-poo. I was like,
yes,
dude, I want this. But actually, you know what? Now I've got it. I'm like, this is fantastic because I can walk around the house. I have a podcast playing. I'm sure other apps will come along that can support it. But at the minute, it's pretty much within the Apple ecosystem. That will change, I'm sure. But the point is that being able to sort of load on a podcast and walk around. I'm going to be staying in a hotel next week as we travel to Site Village. I can be in the hotel. I can listen to my podcast while I'm walking around there. Instead of having the phone lying on the other side of the room, and you're always having to kind of carry it with you as well.
That's the thing, because I know people say, well, what's the point in that? When are you going to listen to anything on the speakers on the watch? And the fact is, you do.
Yeah.
I missed it. When I first got my Apple Watch, I was really excited by being able to listen to things through the speakers. And as soon as you realize, what, you can't do that? It seemed like really strange. So I'm happy with this. I'm slightly confused why this is only limited to the Series 10, though, and why they couldn't make this a software change across, the previous generations.
I don't know. It seems odd. I mean, unless it's to do with the battery, I imagine it might be something there, but
maybe. If you lock it, does it stop playing? Does it?
No,
because a lot of things
it will continue playing. If it's playing media and the watch is locked, it will continue to play.
Very good. I like that. Sorry, carry on.
I want to mention the buttons because the crown and the little side button, I've often found quite tricky to press. They just always felt a little bit, or they would either press too easily. You'd press it thinking, if I pressed that, and then you had pressed it, you didn't even know you pressed it. Whereas these have a bit more of a firmness to them on the Series 10. They've tightened this up a little bit. So now it's much easier to press the button. You don't have to push the button as hard. That's possibly because of the thinner design. They've maybe felt they've had to firm that up a little bit. But, now I press that button, the whole watch is not being dug into the top of my arm.
Yes.
As it often, push the button, Don't have to do that anymore. And that is a big deal. Because, again, for people who have issues with dexterity or mobility and who use this and, struggle to push those buttons, that is actually a little bit easier on the Series 10. So that's worth knowing as well. But those are my kind of top takeaways. We'll talk more about it down the line, but I am really enjoying it. I think it was a brilliant purchase. I wasn't going to buy it, but I was intrigued by when they said lighter and they said thinner. I thought, for me, that could be a real thing that could be useful. And when I tried it out, I thought, yeah, I've got to have one of these. So
that's so interesting. Yeah, that's a really good point. Again, someone coming from a Series 8 or 9, maybe a slightly different consideration, right? You're coming from the Ultra, which, as you mentioned,
which is a bit weird. I mean, and that's the thing. I'm coming at it from a different direction and for a different reason, and it's more of a dexterity and in my case, a tremor issue. But what I will say is, if you've got a Series 9, there's no major benefit to you upgrading to the 10. But if you've got a 4 or a 5, even a 6 Series watch, then maybe you would want to look at this. In terms of processing, in terms of the voiceover speed, response, all of that, very snappy, very responsive. I mean, it's glorious. And I know I shouldn't compare this because it's not apples with apples here. But when I think about that Pixel watch, when I think, goodness me, how far behind they are. In comparison to this, I would never give up that Apple Watch. I mean, as much as I still sometimes wonder what I'm going to do with it, I find I use it I think it's because I'm not out a lot. If I was out all the time, when I'm on the move, it's like I love it. I'm using it all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm not out enough, so I don't need to wear a watch in the house every day. My phone is sitting right there.
Yes.
But yeah, I do see the value of it in terms of all the metrics and everything as well. Because when I go out, that's what I love to do. I go out, say, if we're going on a trip somewhere, I come back. The first thing my wife and I do is we check our steps. always check the steps.
Yes.
You know, how many did we walk today? And then, you know, we can't understand why she's walked 1,000 more than me. And it's like, how did that work, you know?
That's right, yeah.
But, yeah. But no, interesting stuff. Look, speaking of Apple, we do need to mention the big story.
Breaking news. Breaking news.
And look, let's be honest about it. Third day of announcements. It feels like The Hangover Part 3, the movie. You know, 1 and 2 were okay. 3, you know, we're getting a bit bored now. We've seen it all, I think. Tiger in the bedroom and all that. Yeah, it's been there. We've been there and done it. But I think this one is going to excite some people. I'm not going to lie to you. It doesn't excite me as much. And that might surprise you.
I'm surprised.
We're all surprised. This is the announcement that was the third announcement from Apple yesterday.
Let's begin with the 14-inch MacBook Pro, which gets the blazing performance of M4 and brand new capabilities. It now comes in silver and the incredibly popular space black. It's great for entrepreneurs, students, creators, or for anyone doing what they love. M4 starts with an incredibly powerful 10-core CPU with 4 performance cores and 6 efficiency cores. And it has a 10-core GPU that features our most advanced graphics architecture. With M4, MacBook Pro is up to 1.8 times faster than the 13-inch Pro with M1 for tasks like editing gigapixel photos. And even more demanding workloads, like rendering complex scenes in Blender, are up to 3.4 times faster. And with a neural engine that's over 3 times more powerful than in M1, it's great for features in Apple Intelligence, like writing tools and other AI workloads. With M4, you can now spread out over 2 high-resolution external displays in addition to the built-in display. And MacBook Pro with M4 has 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, 1 more than before, so you can connect it all. Next, we're super excited to give both the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro a tremendous performance boost with M4 Pro. It's the ideal choice for researchers, developers, engineers, creative pros, or for anyone looking for much faster performance. M4 Pro features a powerful CPU with 10 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores for a huge jump in multi-core performance. And its 20-core GPU is twice as powerful as M4. And M4 Pro gets a massive 75% increase in memory bandwidth over the prior generation, and it's double that of any AI PC chip. So the new MacBook Pro is up to 3 times faster than models with M1 Pro, speeding up a variety of workflows like geomapping, structural engineering, and data modeling. And intelligent features in Xcode, like predictive code completion and Swift Assist, can dramatically speed up software development. Plus, Apple Intelligence will boost your productivity across the system. So that's the new MacBook Pro. With Apple Intelligence, the blazing performance of the M4 family, a nano texture display option, and Thunderbolt 5, it gets even more powerful and even more pro.
So that is the new MacBook Pro that was announced yesterday, and lots of specs thrown around. This 3 times this and 2 times that.
Oh dear.
You know, here we go again.
Come on, Stephen.
Do you know, I think it's because it's third day in a row of this. I feel like, yeah, okay, I've heard all this on the Mac. That we started on the iMac and we got excited there. Mac Mini, ooh, small, tiny. And then MacBook Pro, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah, that is the problem, though, is that basically this is just every day we're hearing about the M4, and it is kind of repeating, right? There's no difference there between what was said about the Mac Mini and the iMac. So you're absolutely right. But it's just the M4 advert in a different package, really.
The big story here, I think, out of this whole week of announcements really is that the base model now of every single Mac, no matter what it is, has 16 gig memory as standard. That's the big headline, really. That's the main story you want to take away from this. So 16 gig. The 8 gig story is no more. You can't get an 8 gig Mac anymore, which is really interesting. And I've got to say, that kind of led into an interesting, I'd say a bigger announcement, actually, than the MacBook Pro. They made mention of the MacBook Air, surprisingly.
MacBook Air continues to be by far the world's most popular laptop. And with Apple Intelligence, the best consumer laptop on the planet gets even better. Now, on models with M2 and M3, we're doubling the starting memory to 16 gigabytes and keeping the starting price at just $999. It's a terrific value for the world's best-selling laptop.
So that's $12.99 in Canadian dollars. But yeah, they've not changed the price at all of the MacBook Air. The starting price is the same, but they've doubled the memory. I know you might say, well, hang on a minute, if I've already got a MacBook Air, what's the big deal? But actually, for those who are buying a MacBook Air, you're getting better value today than you were yesterday.
Well, okay. Yes, you could argue the price of the update to the next level of memory in Apple SKUs are always slightly, let's be honest, it's just really expensive. So I would argue it should have started at 16 gig. But I think the more interesting question is why? Why would they do that? Apple wouldn't do this just because they're feeling nice. There must be a reason why they're taking the baseline up a level to 16 gig. And I'm guessing it's to do with on-device performance of Apple Intelligence. It must have some sort of direct impact on performance.
I think you're right. I think there needs to be a minimum specification, and that's probably part of it. I also think I saw this perspective on Twitter this morning, which kind of got me, which was someone saying, well, hang on, perhaps it's because they're just not selling enough of the base models. Everyone's upgrading to the next one, or they're taking the second model with the 16 gig. They're not selling enough of the 8 gig, so why make them in the first place? That sounds to me more like a reason why Apple might make this decision. It's not necessarily all to do with performance. It might be to do with simple sales. If they're not selling them, why make them? Supply
and demand. It could well be. That's actually a very good point, yeah.
I think this is good. I mean, across the board now, you've got the 16 gig minimum. The story of this week is interesting, isn't it? Because, of course, M4 Pro, that's the big deal. Everyone's excited about M4 Pro. M4 Max was introduced inside the new MacBooks. But, of course, the iMac is now out. You've got the full screen there. You've got, gorgeous colors. You've got the Mac Mini that's smaller now. With more ports on there, Thunderbolt 5 coming into that, Thunderbolt 5 also coming into the new MacBooks as well. So lots and lots of different choices available to you as a consumer, lots of different things you can get. And I will say the price level, especially when you look at the Mac Mini, for what you're getting for the money, I think this is the story of this week as well, is the price of that machine, the base model. And okay, granted, the base model has 256 gig of RAM, solid state drive, hard drive. That's not a huge amount for a base model. But for that price, $799 Canadian, $599 US, that's a beast of a machine.
It is.
And if you were just living in the cloud, I mean, I'm almost tempted just to buy it, kind of like what I did with the M1 back in 2020 when I saw the M1 Mac Mini come out. And I just bought the base model and thought, can I live with this? And I had the 256 as well. It was a 256 with 8 gig of RAM. And that machine was as powerful as anything. Probably still as powerful today, to be perfectly honest. There's nothing wrong with the M1 at all. I think they put a lot of effort into that M1. That first processor will live on for a while. But with this new one, with the M4 in there, I mean, I want the M4 Pro because I want that chip. And,
of course you do.
I maxed it out, and it's over like $5,000 when you max the whole thing out. But that's with 64 gig of RAM, a faster, more core M4 Pro chip, and 8 terabyte solid state for over $5,000.
That's the thing. Ding, ding, ding. That's
the price. Yeah. That's the killer on all of these. When you start adding more and more space, hard drive space into these machines, that's when the price just goes through the roof.
That is a bit overkill. And let's be honest, we've got a particular use case where storage is important because, especially you're dealing with video files, right? 4K video files. That takes up a lot of space. I'm dealing with, audio projects, dual projects, which could be, 4 or 5 gig at a time. So it's still, storage is always being managed for us.
My iPhoto library is like 200 gig.
Is it? Well, that's interesting. Okay.
And you think 200 gig, and I buy the 256 Mac Mini, that's it. The space is gone. By the time I turn it on, the space is gone. I mean, okay, I know it's in the cloud, and yes, I mean, that's right. But my point is that, with the data I already have, never mind anything else. I'm a hoarder. I'm a complete hoarder. I don't think I've deleted anything. And my dad, he went through a process of going back. Remember the days you could buy those scanning machines for like negatives?
Yes. Yeah.
He would go through all the old negatives of family photos, and he imported them all, in thousands upon thousands of them we had.
I get that.
And so that's lovely, right?
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've gone through a process now of I connect my iPhone to my computer and select all and delete everything in there. Because you know what, I'm never going to go back in there. It's always a thing of, I want to keep that for nostalgia. But if it was that important to me, I would drag it off and archive it somewhere. And the fact of the matter is, it just gets unmanageable for me. You can't be my eyes everything.
I must have taken about 100 videos. I don't know how many 100 pictures when we were on holiday, and we have looked at 0 of them.
Of course, yeah. Now, if you do a voice memo recording of something, I'm more likely to go back and listen to that.
Well, okay, that's a blind thing, right? That is a blind thing. But I will
right.
say this: I don't think we're that different. Actually, I think there's a lot of people who take hundreds of pictures and never look at any of them.
No, it's true.
So it's like, how many of these images are you actually looking at? But yeah, we're still. I mean, I remember the days when you got cameras and you got film and you could get like 24 or 36 pictures on it, and you really were careful. Now, don't. My mum used to say, don't take a picture on that camera because you'll use up all the film. And then we'll have no film left, and that'll be that. So make sure you. And there was always one of like your grandpa's feet, or the dog
in front of the fire.
Yeah, there's always something because you had to use it up. Take a picture of something. Here, I'm wearing this nice dress today. Not me, obviously. Take a picture of me, and then you'd have that. And then when you would get the pictures back, do you remember this? You get the pictures back from the photo place, and they'd have a sticker on them.
Yes, not enough light. This is too blurry or out of focus. Yeah, all right, thank you. Everyone's a critic.
I know. It's like, that's my picture. I was being creative.
Yes, technology has got better, and things have got better.
Thank goodness.
Did you keep it? Sorry, we're off on a bit of a tangent there. But did you keep the baseline with the 8 gig and 256 of the M1?
Yes.
Was it enough?
Yes. Oh, no, I mean, it was fine. Yeah, I mean, look, again, the trick is just attach a huge hard drive to it, right? That's the bottom line. And, this is the thing I think that, again, people talk about storage. Yes, storage is important on these devices, absolutely is. But I think what I would say is with Thunderbolt 5 coming along, there are going to be incredible speeds with hard drives, solid state. They're going to be expensive, don't get me wrong. They're not going to be cheap hard drives. But, that will, I would guess it's going to be cheaper than paying Apple's prices for hard drives.
Oh, of course it will. But let's be honest, you don't always need an SSD unless you're working off an external hard drive, doing video editing, audio editing, or whatever it may be. If you're just using an external hard drive to store your data and then load it back in later on, a mechanical HDD is absolutely fine, which you can pick up for, they're dirt cheap at the moment, right?
Yeah, you can. Well, they do go up and down in price, hard drives. That's one thing.
Well, you start looking at 16 terabyte, you're talking. Yes, but I mean.
Interesting. But no, the MacBook Pro story, I must admit, not a lot of excitement. I was hoping to see, well, not hoping to see, but I was expecting to see a lot more attention on the MacBook Pro. But I think the Mac Mini has won the week. I really think
of course it has. Yeah, well, a redesign always sort of gains attention anyway. And it just, again, as I said at the start of this, basically this is just the M4 every day. This is what the M4 is. All those specs they mentioned the day before. And the fact of the matter is that this is the most affordable way to get that high-performance M4 chip. It sounds great to me.
I think they made a little error in judgment here because I get maybe they want the Mac Mini to win the week. I don't know. You never really know what Apple are thinking, right? What the design is, the idea behind the marketing. They clearly just decided to throw this new idea at the wall this week because this was a new way of doing this. They normally hold an event. Apple would normally have a big event and then everyone would talk about it for a couple of days and that was it. They decided instead, because they did this last year, they had the Scary Fast event last year and it wasn't particularly brilliant because it was half an hour and people just talked about the length of the event rather than what was actually announced in it.
Yes.
Whereas this year they've obviously decided to sort of grab the narrative a bit more and I think that makes sense for them to do that. But what's happened is people have seen and had time to absorb each announcement, which is a good thing. Because instead of trying to rush to, grab every morsel of information in a 30-minute or hour-long presentation, you actually have time to say, okay, that's an interesting announcement. Let's break that down. Okay, here's another announcement. Break that down. And the iMac, I it's not to discount the iMac. I think the iMac is brilliant. I think it's great. For me, I would like to see a Pro version of it. But I think for most people who are just getting into the world of computing, it's great. It's good value as well. In comparison to what else is out there, I mean, you got to think about the alternatives. I mean, in terms of all-in-one desktops that are powerful in that way, I don't think there's much in the way of competition, to be perfectly honest.
No, I don't.
But in terms of the Mac Mini announcement, what it showed compared to what happened yesterday with the MacBook Pro and when they announced that is the value of the Mac Mini. Because I think a lot of people looked at the price of the MacBook Pro and thought, you know what, I'm probably going to use this at my desk. And what I've seen is something I've thought about for a long time. Others starting to come around to this today, which is, you know what, if you're the kind of person who does a lot of work at their desk, but on the move, you know, you do bits and pieces, but you're not going to do the main work, then buy a Mac Mini for home. You have all that power in a much more value package, but you still get the same amount of power, and get yourself a MacBook Air for on the move. And you could actually save yourself a lot of money. And I think that is ultimately it for me this week. What's weirdly with Apple, we've seen value for money, which we don't normally see. We see a huge price tag attached to something, which is good. But the Mac Mini is a weird outlier in all this because it is the affordable way in. I know, but people are starting to actually realize that. It's like it's always been there. It's like the ugly sister, or I don't know if that's the right phrase, but you know.
It's hard to see the limitation of the Mac Mini. You know, usually when you look at the cheaper option, the more affordable option, we should say, you realize what you're missing out on. That you're making sacrifices, but when it comes to the Mac Mini, I can't see what you're missing out on. You're getting all that Apple goodness there. But I mean, it's important to say that they are hitting very separate demographics here. The iMac with the screen and the all-in-one aspect, which is important to some people. The Mac Mini, I think, is more the home user, I would say, or the more average user. And then you've got the MacBook for those people who need it on the go. So they are distinctly different demographics I think they're aiming at.
So I think the bigger question is, what did they do with the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro that makes it stand out? Because I look at the MacBook Pro and I look at the Mac Mini, and I think for most people, I would say prosumers as well as consumers, who I was looking at the M4 Mac Mini thinking, would I need this? And I was watching a video from a group called the Live Streaming Pros. Now I watch these guys quite a lot because they're involved in a product called Ecamm, which is what we use to do this. We just recently switched over to using this product, and they were Lucia Petra, who does the video. She was just explaining from her perspective, what you should consider when buying, and it's a great point actually, just overall, not just for what she was talking about which is streaming and live streaming and recording. She said, ultimately ask yourself this question: where is your computer failing? If you're looking to upgrade, ask yourself, what is your computer failing at? What is it struggling with? And she said, if the answer is, A, B, or C, whatever the issue is, then that might be worth considering the upgrade. But if your computer's performing and it's doing everything it needs to do you need to upgrade? And, in my case, I was kind of thinking it through and I actually took some notes and thought, right, okay, so, yes, it's doing well here, but it fails at this. And actually the biggest issue for me is onboard storage, because when you record a show like this, as we do live to tape, as it were, everything has to be local on the hard drive, because if I'm using hard drives that have to spin up and I want to play something in and it has to go off to that hard drive and spin that drive up and play it in, it slows the whole thing down, yes. Right? So it causes problems. So everything has to be local, which means you need more storage. So there's one thing for me. I've got 512 gig storage on this machine and I'm like, yeah, is it enough? And it actually is. It's kind of working out, but it's involving a little bit of moving stuff around. Whereas if I had more storage, I could be more efficient with that. So that's a thought for me. But that might be the case for other people as well. They might be thinking, well, okay, it's really good at this. But the other point she made was, ask yourself what you think you might want to do in the future. Try and think ahead a little bit. At the moment, you might think, because she said this is, and it's so true, Lucia said this so well. She said, ultimately, people start doing something, like audio editing, for example, and then they get into it. And they want to do more, and they want to add more tracks, and they want to add new things, and they want to try new things, and then maybe they want to try a different piece of software that needs more, demands on your system. And so therefore you end up in a position where your machine starts to struggle. So ultimately, when you're upgrading a computer, if you're thinking this week, if you've been watching all these announcements, you've been listening to this and you're thinking, should I upgrade? Because that's the first question I get asked every time I go anywhere. People say to me, should I upgrade? Should I buy this?
Yeah.
First off, look at what you can afford, right? So what can you afford and what do you need? And you've got to think about what you're doing with your machine. You got to think about the things you might enjoy doing as perhaps hobbies or a bit of fun, and almost kind of multiply that. So, okay, you know, I need some storage to do what I'm doing. I've got enough to manage right now. Okay, well, if you've got enough to manage right now, you might want to double that then. And then you've got loads to manage. You know, you've got some headroom in there. And in terms of the processors, in terms of whether it's M4 or M4 Pro, look, that's down to you as an individual. But to be perfectly honest, for most users, if you're going to use this to, you know, use Google Docs and you're going to be on, you know, on the web all the time, you want a good voiceover experience, base M4 is going to do you fine. And the fact that it's got 16 gig memory now, that's going to ensure that. And it already was fine on 8, by the way. So, you know, what does that tell you?
Yeah, exactly. And going back to what you said at the start here, you know, what is your current setup failing at?
Yeah.
It may be a case it's not failing at all. It's just, you know, it's all very logical, but a lot of us look at something new and say, oh, something new and shiny.
I must have this, yeah.
I want it.
I mean, honest to God, I probably don't need it, right? The M2 Pro Mac Mini I've got is absolutely fine. If I choose to buy it, it's for cosmetic reasons only, right? That's the truth of it. I don't need to buy it. But if you're in a position where you're thinking, okay, do you know what, my computer feels like it's struggling? I see a lot of people still who are using Intel Macs and having issues with VoiceOver, and they're having issues here, there with applications. And the truth is, if you were going to make a move from Intel, I mean, it was, to be perfectly honest, the time you could do it was immediately from M1. But if you've been waiting, then yeah, this is probably the moment. Because I think if you've got a Mac Mini right now running an Intel processor, God help you, first off. But secondly, get an M4, please. You know, I feel Apple should just give you an M4 just to show you the difference, because it is night and day in comparison. It really is. All the issues that people had with Macs in the past, I'm not saying Intel were at fault, but the truth is that, you know, the software's moved on and Intel have been left behind since 2020. So now we're at a different space. Now we're at a different time. And the capability of those machines, especially if you want the Apple Intelligence and all of that, you need to have Apple Silicon. You're not going to get that on Intel. So these are things to consider. But I'm excited about these announcements. I think they're good. I think it was a good week for Apple, actually. But I think the winner for me was definitely the Mac Mini. So
chicken dinner, of course. Yeah. I'm really interested to see how the aftermarket takes on the Mac Mini, the new Mac Mini. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sort of, you know, laptop shell that you plug in a Mac Mini and the rest of it is just a massive battery to run it. I'm sure we're going to see lots of interesting uses of it. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. The Mac Mini for me was the star of the show. Is that it, though? Do we know there's not going to be any more?
Yeah, that's it. Said at the end, that was it, done. That was the third announcement. 3 announcements this week. Those were the 3. Okay. I imagine now the next... That is all we'll hear now from Apple, I would imagine, until after the holidays. Yeah. That is it. They're all going to go off now and...
Interesting way they've done it. I think it was actually quite good this way.
I mean, look, they got us talking about it, right? I mean, 3 days, they got us talking all about them. So good for them.
Thank you, Apple.
Yes, thank you, Apple. Thank you for giving us content. We do love it here at Double Tap because, you know, we struggle, you know. Right, let's get some emails.
Email. We get email.
We get your email every day.
Ding dong.
Here's your mail today.
Oh, I love that. It's got to happen. Right, let's hear from Norina.
Dear Steven and Shaun, I believe this is one of your favourite subjects, audio description.
Oh, yes.
I have been told by a sighted friend that on Freeview and Channel 52 there are non-stop Christmas films.
Ooh.
Unfortunately, not one of them are audio described.
Boo.
This is a great shame, as I would like to watch at least one of them. I appreciate they most probably have a happy ending, but they can cheer you up going towards Christmas. If it was on the BBC or ITV, then I could contact them, but not sure how to do so with Freeview. Does anyone else know, or have you any contacts, Stephen? If I remember correctly, I sent an email last year to the RNIB campaigns and audio description, but never heard back. I'm really enjoying the podcasts, and I can easily fast forward as I listen to you via my Victor Reader stream if there is too much Apple talk, seeing as I use a Synaptic analog phone.
Sorry.
Take care both, and thanks for everything. Best wishes, Norina.
I feel the need to email Norina now and say, listen, the show that's going out today, you're actually in it, but because we talk about Apple, you've probably skipped by it, so you probably missed your email. Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Sorry. That's such a good point, though. There's so many classic, as I put them, movies out there, and there's so many of these, I don't know, what would you call these, obscure channels that play these movies, and there's no chance of them being audio described, but who do you contact? There's a chance that channel is being run out of someone's bedroom on an old computer.
Yeah.
That's the way I always look at it. So I would have no idea how you contact them, and even if you did, would you get any feedback at all? That's not to say you shouldn't, but honestly, I don't know. Stephen, you're the man on the inside.
I'm really not. I mean, there was a time. I mean, look, I've stood up in front of all these TV channels in the UK and various conferences over the years and told them exactly what I think of them, which is probably why I never get invited back.
Yeah, that's why you're on the outside now.
Yeah, exactly. Because and the thing is, I have good friends in the audio description world who, really fight this case. I feel it's ridiculous that we have to fight for just the recognition that audio description is part of a program. I almost feel like if I ever got the opportunity, and maybe we should try this. Maybe this should be the double tap plan for going forward if we want to tackle this issue, is to try and get a major film star on this show. I know it's never going to happen, but we should try, right? We should try and get a Tom Hanks or a Steven Spielberg or a Brad Pitt
others.
or who else is famous? Someone else.
Showing our age.
But try and get a famous star to come on and just to talk to them and basically just hijack the conversation and say, right, look, what do you think about this audio description thing? To get them to say, oh, what's that? Or, oh, you've heard of that. And then make them understand the issue. Because I think if the actors and the directors who are behind these films actually knew what was going on with this whole audio description thing, they would be appalled. I don't think that, I don't think, because look, they have far more sway than any of us. So
I hope you're right.
They could start a campaign, and just by opening their mouths and saying, all blind people should be able to access these movies as the same way everybody else can, that could change the industry. I mean, that's literally where we're at with this. So, I'd love to see that happen. That is not going to happen anytime soon, right? Okay, so let's just park
Tom
that
Hanks,
dream for a minute.
if you're listening,
yeah, Tom, if you're listening,
please come on.
Look, I always believe in the 6 degrees of separation thing, right? Somebody somewhere knows someone that could get. Yeah, come on, double tap. Let's do this. I mean, I'm serious. Let's do something here. Let's change this. Because it's just not good enough. And, Norina's right. Look, you want to sit there, Norina, you want to enjoy your Christmas movies. I get it. I love those channels. Every single time I put on a movie like that, it doesn't have audio description. It does my head in. Because you're sitting there going, I want to enjoy this. It's time of year and all that. I get it. And it just annoys me. But what I can say, or what I will say is, keep going back to the RNIB, because I know they work hard on this. They do. I know the team who are there. There's Sonali Rai and John Payton, some great guys in there. I name them because they're wonderful people who do great work. And, I know the RNIB gets a bad rap at times, but to be fair, there are wonderful people who work in there. And those two in particular have done a huge amount of work, pushing, and they sometimes feel that they're pushing at a locked door as well. And it's something we have to continue to fight. But keep in touch with the RNIB, Norina. Keep fighting it, because I think it's important. Just keep doing that. They are listening, I promise you that. But it's unfortunate they didn't respond to you. But hopefully they will come back to you at another time. But yeah, we must continue this fight. We should try and get those guys on here actually from the RNIB, because I know they're doing a good idea to try and push this. But yeah, in terms of the broadcasters themselves, yeah, it's so difficult. It depends who you speak to. I mean, look,
you got to hunt it down, haven't you? You got to hunt down that channel. You mentioned channel 52, I believe, in Freeview here in the UK. So you'd have to Google it. You got to be a bit of a detective to find out, if there's any contact details online somewhere.
What gets me?
Well, have a look.
You ever been on LinkedIn? The world's biggest bragging network.
Yeah, I don't use LinkedIn.
Honestly, I get so frustrated. I was on there the other day, and someone was praising our good friends Sky TV for all their commitment to accessibility. Now, I have to say, I was tempted to bite my tongue, and then I thought, no, sod it, I'm not biting my tongue. So I went on and I said, look, I appreciate your meaning well here, but, I, as a blind person, can't access any of the audio-described content they've made on their network on demand, because they don't make it available to me. So, no, I'm not celebrating their accessibility successes.
Stephen Scott, you rebel.
And
was there a response?
No, of course there wasn't. There was no response. It was all very quiet. No one knows what to say, because, of course, the people who are saying this are doing that thing where they're just everyone's being really nice and championing, and it's like, yeah, but you got to be nuanced with your championing, right? I mean, I do. Look, I am conscious that there are there are great things being done. I'm not saying any company, I mean, especially Sky, let's just single out Sky for a minute. I'm not saying for a second they have not got good policies in terms of accessibility. They do, and they implement well. That's proven by the fact that they actually do a huge amount of audio description, for example. They do captioning, they do all these things. They've got a great accessibility team. As usual, though, I imagine that team, like most companies, their teams are small. They have tiny teams of people who are really working hard and probably hear me shouting about this kind of thing and go, oh, Stephen, please, we're trying our best. And I get it. I understand that. You're fighting a machine because ultimately, it's not them who decide whether or not the content is available on demand. But what it is important for them to speak up on this as loud as they can and actually get on our side, get us on board and say, hey, look, here's people here who really want this stuff. Make it happen. You'll get more customers out of it. Do you not understand this? We'll give you money. I'll give you money, more money. I'm not paying more for audio description, but I will pay for the service if it's good. And that's how it works. And I don't know how we can, it feels like we're just saying the same thing over and over and over again. Every conference, every conference I visit, every one I hear about, every single one says the same thing. Oh, accessibility is our core thing. Accessibility is the most important thing to us. Well, prove it, damn it. Prove it.
Yeah.
It just
you've had
drives
so
me
many years.
mad.
Yeah. Yeah, I just always think how much of the progress that we've had is purely down to legislation rather than because a commitment to accessibility because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Next.
Here's Cece.
Wow.
G'day, folks. This is Cece on the line from Montreal. That's in Canada, in case anyone was wondering.
Okay.
And I, too, have had difficulties with reading character or number by number. And I could not do it with any U.S. English voice. I had to switch to a UK voice or to French. And that's fine. So every time I go to a text field where I know I need to put in a single number or check a spelling with a single letter, then I simply switch using the new voices button in the rotor. I switch to French and read the language that way. Another thing I found with iOS 18 was in selecting a voice, there's a button for pitch, which will raise and lower the voice, but there's another button for timbre or timbre. And that is like a miracle. And I took the Eloquence voice, Evan, with the highest quality voice I could find, and marked the timbre down just to 96%, I think. And it makes it sound like a really pro radio announcer. And it's been thoroughly enjoyable. So I definitely recommend, if you're ever worried about voices, instead of adjusting the pitch, try adjusting the timbre or timbre or timbre. Thanks so much.
Timber! That's what I've been thinking about.
Yeah, that's something I think we've mentioned it before, the new options for voices in iOS 18. You've got a lot more equalization functionality.
Head size is my favorite.
Head size.
Can I be honest? I don't know what any of this means. What does any of that mean? Head size.
I barely notice a difference, but again, I suppose, if you're using headphones, you may notice a difference. Timbre is sort of a tonal difference, isn't it, into the voice? So yeah, I haven't tried it with Eloquence. That's very interesting. I haven't really noticed it. I played with it with the other sort of vocalizer voices, and I haven't noticed a huge difference there. But with I want to say equalizer. What's the word? Eloquence. With Eloquence, you maybe notice it more. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Well, you certainly got a lot more options on Eloquence, that's for sure. There's tons of options. That head size one is in there. There's that timbre thing. Look, I don't know what it is, but I will say this. I think for people with certain hearing conditions, this is brilliant because you can hear the voice more clearly. And this is I think some of the issues I'm having with the Eloquence voice is perhaps because I need to adjust those exact settings. But I switched over to Nathan, and I'm in love. I've switched everything. Apple TV's now got Timbre. Timber.
Timber.
That's a new name. Timber. He's a
Stephen
lovely
loves
guy.
Nathan.
Wood chipper, isn't
Okay.
he?
All right.
Yes, I've got Nathan on my Apple TV. I've got Nathan. Can I get? Oh, hang on. Can I get Nathan on the watch?
Of course you can. You get
Yes.
him everywhere.
I want Nathan everywhere. That's what I
Well,
want.
What about the first point there about not being able to navigate via character?
That was a
what's-
problem at the beginning with iOS 18, wasn't it? I don't know if that's still a major issue. I think it depends where you're at as well. Here's a strange one for you. This just we need to go in a minute, but honestly, this drove me insane. I got a PDF the other day with a tracking number on it for a parcel, and I was trying to copy. Oh my god, what a nightmare that was!
I know.
That was horrible. I couldn't do it. I did. I had to copy the whole thing and then paste that into another document and then find that and then copy it and then
Edit it.
paste it into. Goodness me, what a carry on. PDFs are terrible, aren't they?
I'm saying nothing. I don't want the emails. Okay, was that on the iPhone, on the Mac? What?
On the iPhone.
On the iPhone. And you couldn't navigate by word or line to get there.
Well, I couldn't select it. That was the problem. There was no edit options. I couldn't select the
Yeah,
text.
but if you can get VoiceOver to read it out, then you can do the
Oh, I didn't think of that.
three
Oh, the
finger
three thing,
quadruple
yeah.
tap to copy the last
Oh,
VoiceOver phrase to your clipboard.
Such an idiot. Anyway, we're out of
Well
time.
done.
We'll be back tomorrow. We'll get lots more. No more Apple announcements, though. You can relax.
Oh,
Apple fans, you can relax. You can put your card away.
maybe some Android announcements.
No. Right.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Back tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.